is a catalogue of mendacity if you are unkind like me, and utter shambolic incompetence if you're one of her liberal defenders in the mass media. Mind you, this was a resignation that was categorically not going to happen. Only yesterday, the airwaves and the printed media were filled, I tell you, with people, experts, I tell you, who were insisting that there were no circumstances in which Amber Rudd would go. It is yet another lesson, if lesson were still required. First of all, never say never in politics, and never say always. And journalists, you're really supposed to be rather more than fans with typewriters, because that's what you have allowed yourselves to become. You wanted Amber Rudd to remain, therefore you told us that she would remain. You could not, or rather would not, evaluate the sheer, relentless, iceberg-like glide of this government to oblivion. And no matter how many Russian bots you manage to disinter, how many Zinoviev letters you take from the archives, dust down and repackage, this is a dying government, dying from the top, just like the dead fish. Because that's what they look like today. An array of dead fish lying helplessly on a slab, their mouths open but nothing coming out. That's the government that Britain has today. And no amount of cheerleading, of smears, of diversions, of look over theirs is going to make any difference. A government clinging to power from the tassels of the orange sashes of the Democratic Unionist Party sans its one and only asset, the late Reverend Ian Paisley, can not survive. And even if, as a result of the Fixed Term Parliament Act, we do not get a general election anytime soon, this Prime Minister, the trout in chief lying on that slab, is bound to go, because she is a total, utter, political and electoral liability. You know, the kind of thing you all used to say about Jeremy Corbyn before he secured the largest increase in Labour votes since Clement Attlee in 1945. It's projection. That's what it is. That which you accuse others of is that which you are yourself guilty of. It's Theresa May that is the incompetent, that is the unpopular, that is the doomed, not the leader of Her Majesty's opposition. And it's about time journalists woke up to their duty to the public, because if they don't, the public will vote increasingly with their feet away from them. And that's what's underway. You may think that the current shape of things is a swan gliding serenely across the surface, but I promise you, they are paddling like hell underneath just to stay upright. And it may very well be that very soon indeed the whole thing keels over. Amber Rudd's offence was a bad one, but it wasn't the offence that done for her. It's never the offence that does for them. It's the cover-up. It's above all the telling of lies. Now, I don't know the woman. Maybe she wasn't consciously lying, but in that case, She's a blundering serial incompetent who was writing and signing letters that she hadn't read, didn't understand. If it's incompetence rather than venality, then she was not misleading the House of Commons and therefore the public deliberately, but only because she's stupid. Now, what would be worse, I ask you, to have someone in the second office of state, the second most important department of state, who was not a knave, but a fool? And who will get it next, talking of fools? Well, I'm hoping, no, that's untrue, I'm praying that the bandwagon for Jacob Rees-Mogg, the 11-year-old monocle wearer, the double-breasted pajama wearer, the silken dressing gown, double-breasted pajama wearer, with his monocle firmly fixed in his right eye, like Lord Snooty without his pals. I'm hoping he gets the gig. Why? Well, first of all, I quite like him. But secondly, wouldn't that be just the perfect face for modern conservatism in the year 2018? If we're lucky, we'll get the new appointment during the course of this show. Mike Graham was very much hoping that the tap would come when he was on air, but some of you say there's no God. I'm virtually certain that I'll be the one to announce it to you. And I'm grateful to Talk Radio for being on this great station on this great day. Some might say it was a Bruce Springsteen glory day, but only if, as I predict, it is the beginning of the end of May before June, I will warrant. We'll be talking to the doyen of city editors, Alex Brummer of the Daily Mail, about the mega merger between Asda and Sainsbury. Asda, of course, the US giant. Walmart lies behind it. I'm against this merger for many reasons. One of them is that I'm not sure that we want Walmart to be dominant in our supermarket place. Because who knows, it might just be a step towards the old chlorinated chicken. I'm against it because I'm against monopoly. I believe in letting 1,000 flowers bloom. I'm against it because it will undoubtedly lead to a squeeze on the suppliers, whose prices and standards will be ineluctably driven down. But I don't really have a dog in the fight, because I go with my wife, she goes increasingly for high-end stuff to Marks and Spencer's and Waitrose, and for everyday things to Aldi and Lidl, which outperform the middle market comprehensively. You see, I think we're not in the age of middle markets anymore. I think we are in a society where people literally shop around, and the middle of the road is where you get run down from the traffic coming in both directions. And I'll be talking, counterintuitively as it happens, about the roasting that Michelle Wolf gave Sarah Huckabee Sanders at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Is that what passes for humour in Washington? A sustained, brutal, vulgar, and above all, utterly unfunny attack on a woman sitting next to you with no ability to reply? No wonder very few laughed. And this makes me say, I was not happy that Donald Trump became President of the United States. But I was very happy that Hillary Clinton didn't. And I don't like Donald Trump, but I like those who hate him even less, with their pussy hats and their broken glass bottle in the face approach to a woman sitting silently, having to take the cuts. Liberals, don't make me laugh. And what happened to Britain's hedgehogs? I don't want to sound too old-fashioned, but when I was young, the gardens were full of bees. The trees were full of birds, and the hedgerows were full of hedgehogs. And none of these things is any more true. A sign, perhaps, of our ineluctable drift to the end times. We'll be talking to Faye Vaz of the British Hedgehog Preservation Society. Words I never thought I'd ever say. And Michael Martin. Gorbals Mick, they called him. The very first and only working-class Roman Catholic ever to sit in the Speaker's chair of the House of Commons is no more. We'll be talking to the obituary writer-in-chief, the former Cabinet Minister Brian Wilson, my former colleague and longtime friend, about Speaker Michael Martin.